Weeks ago we had Wayne McLaren on from McLaren Cattle Company talking about performance recording. We didn't get up to carcass figures. How do they all work?
No, Rob, well, I thought when we set out with about a 10-minute slot to do 17 traits, it was going to be a bit of a hard ask. But we get to the business end of what beef cattle are really about, is putting beef in boxes, and hopefully of a high quality. And if you look at carcass weight, that is a figure that's generated from abattoir data, freezer work data, processing company data, on the genetic side of the animals that are coming through as they're recorded, if you like. Yep. That's not quite right. But one thing that's going to be fantastic for this is EID. Once we know exactly what animal we're dealing with, where it's from, that sort of thing, and that's where a lot of this data comes from at the moment, is from Australia, because we use quite a large amount of Australian genetics. The information is just blossoming.
It's obviously a phrase we're going to hear a lot of, so what does EID stand for?
Electronic identification.
Right.
So you're talking, you know, the tag, it'll be a button in the air that'll be read with a wand or a reader on the side of the race, and it's just going to upskill our data bases to a tremendous extent.
Are you looking, when you're talking about carcass information, are you talking about amount, so the double muscle breeds will win, or are you talking yield, or what are you talking?
And we're talking quality. So if you take carcass weight, that's just an expression of the amount of available meat that hangs on the hook, right, as opposed to retail beef yield, which is the amount of products that is there, as opposed to, say, bone, where some of the bigger, coarser breeds, that's yield. That's available, usable product. If you're talking eye muscle area, which is another trait that's recorded, that's the physical side of the ribeye steak between the 12th and the 13th rib. Now, the figure that's generated in that regard is gained mostly from ultrasound scanning information of pedigree cattle, and that's all combined into one pool, and it comes up with a EMA figure, eye muscle area.
This is all done, Wayne, on the sire and the dam while they're still standing, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Most cattle are, pedigree cattle are scanned between the age of 400 and 600 days, so slightly over a year, slightly under 2 years. The forward-thinking breeders will scan every animal of that age group. So every calf that's born when it gets to between 400 and 600 days age of that year will be scanned just once in its lifetime, and that gives a better spread of data. People used to think, oh, we'll just do the best ones, but then there's no comparison factor.
No, you got to do the whole spectrum.
In a weird sort of a way, the lesser ones make the better ones better, because they've all had the same opportunity to produce, say, in the case of eye muscle area, they've all had the same opportunity to grow to, say, 100 square centimetres of ribeye steak, where the bottom of them might only be 60. All of a sudden, hey, the computer says we've got a large difference here, and that's how.
You'd mentioned quality. I mean, how do you, for example, scan for marbling?
Intramuscular fat, the same machines used. Marbling, intramuscular fat, it's the spread of fat within that ribeye steak that I talked about between the 12th and the 13th rib. The 12th and the 13th rib gives a consistency between each animal as it comes up the race. And also, the nice thing about a cattle beast is the 13th rib is the last full rib. So the scanner has an exact point of reference, if you like.
Yeah, so it's always going to be in the right spot.
Just in front of the 13th rib. So therefore, that makes it fair. I mean, if you were to bring the scanner up 3 or 4 ribs up, the ribeye is going to be bigger. That's just the way the animal is. It's not round like a post. It increases as it goes towards the shoulder.
Briefly, when's all this information going to start to be put into catalogues and things?
Well, it's
there now.
It is there now in every bull sale catalogue of note, anyway.
Yep. So therefore, people know how to read it.
Oh yes. If you want to look to say increase eye muscle area in your cattle, if you keep buying high eye muscle bulls or using high eye muscle AI bulls, you will increase. There is no doubt.
And so the trick is to balance everything within your herd to get all those tops all the way through along your line.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes hard, because we're talking about 17 traits, and it's very few animals that cover all the bases. Last time I was here, I mentioned Timania Infinity 379, one of the few. Like and he doesn't cover them all, but he covers most of them to the top 25%, which is quite incredible. But to make it a little, sorry.
So I was just going to say we're going to come back to that again on another day, I think.
Yeah, perhaps.
Because it is a very complicated thing. But
yeah, complicated but simple.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks very much indeed.